The first apples arrived in Ireland a few thousand years ago. Having spent several thousand years before that travelling from their ancestral home in the mountainous region known as the Tian Shan, on the borders of Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan and China, northwest of the deserts of Central Asia. Before that, ever since people first arrived in the Midlands 9,000 years ago, the only abundant fruit in the Irish diet was blackberries. And that abundance was very seasonal. Today, if blackberries feature at all on the menu, they will not have come from the bushes from which everybody will have been picking blackberries at this time of the year, not more than a generation ago. And if they do, they will almost certainly have come from the supermarket shelves, sometimes from as far away as Mexico, which is the world's leading producer today, or New Zealand. Blackberries are the fruit of brambles, a large genus of some 250 species in the rose family. What characterises the rose family is a comparatively simple floral plan, similar in many ways to the earliest flowers to evolve 100 or so million years ago. If you put the flower of a dog rose beside a bramble flower, you can see how similar they are. In each there are 5 sepals and 5 petals, numerous stamens that ripen from the outside in, a cluster of carpels in the centre. Nectar is secreted in abundance by a fleshy ring on the margins of the receptacle inside the stamens. The receptacle is the top of the flower stem, on which the floral organs develop. And this is eagerly sought by a wide variety of insects, bees and wasps especially, but also flies, beetles and butterflies. But although the flowers all have the same basic blueprint, they develop into a great variety of different kinds of fruit in the different species groups or genera. In roses, for example, the rim of the receptacle of the flower grows up to enclose the carpels and produce the familiar rose-hip fruits, whereas in brambles, the individual carpels remain exposed and each develops into an individual fleshy, succulent seed, the even more familiar blackberry. Few species are more important for wildlife than brambles. As many as 150 different species of insects and other invertebrates have been recorded on different parts of the plant, including as many as 50 different kinds of bees. And in addition to the importance of the flowers for insects and of the fruits for birds and mammals, it is the host plant for several kinds of leaf miners. Solitary bees use the stems as their nurseries, and it's the host plant for numerous rusts and other epiphytic fungi. The most common and conspicuous of these is the common bramble rust, Phragmidium violaceum. These are its overwintering spores, the teleospores, which are amazing to look at under the microscope. On top of all this, brambles have long arching shoots that loop and strike root where the loops touch the ground, in double quick time growing into impenetrable thickets that provide shelter and dwelling places for innumerable wild species, from mammals such as foxes, badgers and hedgehogs, to nesting birds like thrushes and finches. Traditionally, brambles were thought to go off after the Feast of Michaelmas on September the 29th. This was the day that, in Christian mythology, that the Archangel Michael was supposed to have expelled Lucifer from heaven for rebelling against God. And when he landed on earth, he fell into a bramble thicket, which he cursed, spat on, urinated on, or worse, depending on which version of the tale that you're following. In fact, blackberries can be eaten until the end of October very, very often. But once they're ripe, they do get mouldy very quickly. In an earlier Ireland, in which sugar was almost unknown, blackberries were highly prized. In fact, they were important enough to merit inclusion in the tree lore of Gaelic Ireland in category number 4, the Lossafedo or bushes of the wood, in the company of firs and bracken, heather, bog myrtle, wild rose and broom. And all parts of the plant were utilised in herbal medicine. Some of the remedies would be considered valuable today to a certain extent, but others less so. For example, eating the young shoots as a preventative from teeth falling out. Although blackberries have more or less disappeared from the kitchen, what you may not know, but may be interested to learn, is that since its reinvention in London in the 1960s, one of the most fashionable of cocktails is blackberry cocktail. So here I have my mixture, about 50 ml of gin, 30 ml of lemon juice and a tablespoon of sugar syrup. There we go. And then I just drizzle my blackberry liqueur, such as creme de moor. Add a little lemon. And a few blackberries. And in midwinter, I can recreate the smell and taste of September. Sláinte.